Hello and welcome to Newsweek South Asia, your one-stop destination for in-depth analysis of security challenges, regional conflicts, and the evolving threat of terrorism. Let's take a look at the headlines first. Pakistan Army Chief ordered soldiers to honor JEM terrorists killed in Operation Sindoor, says JEM commander. Activist Arif Azakia exposes Pakistan's systematic persecution of ethnic minorities. And Taliban clampdown on women forces UN to close 8 centers for Afghan returnees. Pakistan has long clothed itself in the garb of victimhood, blaming terrorism on external forces. But that mask has now slipped. A recent confession from a senior Jaish-e-Mohammad commander has ripped open Islamabad's narrative, exposing the direct hand of Pakistan's army and intelligence agencies in nurturing terror. Speaking at a public conference, the commander admitted that Army Chief Asim Munir and senior generals not only backed JEM but even attended funerals of slain terrorists under state honors. The revelation shatters Pakistan's carefully crafted victimhood and lays bare its entrenched nexus with jihadist networks.
7 मई को बहावलपुर के अंदर मौलाना मसूद अजहर की फैमिली के लोग बहनें और बेटे और बच्चे रेजा हो गए.
Speaking at the 38th annual Mission Mustafa conference in Pakistan's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, Jaish-e-Mohammad senior commander Masood Ilyas Kashmiri openly urged support for jihad. What makes this different from routine jihadic rhetoric is the explosive admission that Pakistan's military leadership actively backed their cause. According to Kashmiri, Pakistan's Army Chief Asim Munir ordered generals to attend funerals of slain JEM members, while the Pakistan Air Force ensured security for these ceremonies. This is not propaganda from India. This is a confession from Pakistan's own proxy.
He said that because of this, our people lost their lives in India's raid, Operation Sindoor. So, this was actually a rallying cry to boost support for themselves. But what it ended up doing was to prove 2 of India's claims. One is that they are in cahoots with the Pakistani army when it comes to spreading terrorism, number 1. Number 2, that Operation Sindoor actually hit its mark. Now, he didn't want to say it. He was trying to say, look, we are sacrificing for Pakistan and Pakistan's cause. So, while he made that statement, he admitted to 2 things. But his intention was not to do so. His intention actually was to garner support. So it's a very significant statement which actually proves India's contentions about these terrorist groups and their nexus with the Pakistani authorities.
The reference point was Operation Sindoor, when Indian forces struck terror camps in Pakistan and Pakistan occupied Jammu and Kashmir earlier this year. Among the targets was Jaish-e-Mohammad's headquarters in Bahawalpur. For the first time, the family of JEM founder Masood Azhar was directly hit, with 10 of his relatives, including women and children, killed in the precision strikes. For Pakistan's generals, this was no ordinary loss. Kashmiri revealed that the military accorded state honors to the terrorists, placing corps commanders at the funerals and wrapping the slain in Pakistan's national flag.
The important point is the very fact that he has invoked the army chief's name, and he said that the chief ordered his generals to attend the funeral. I think that is a very significant statement because it is true. It is the army chief who ordered those generals to attend the funeral to show solidarity with the Jaish-e-Mohammad. And that simply proves the complicity which exists between these two, the terrorist organizations which have been created by the Pakistan Army and the Pakistan military itself. One more point I want to give on this is it is not simply the military and the terrorist nexus. The political establishment is also party to it. So we have a nexus between the political parties, the military, that is the army, and the terrorists, and all three are in it together.
For India, these revelations are a watershed moment. New Delhi has for years supplied dossiers, intercepted communications, and even DNA samples linking Pakistan to terror attacks. Whether it was the Pathankot Air Base assault, the Uri Brigade attack, or the Mumbai 26/11 massacre, each time Islamabad stonewalled, denied, or dismissed the evidence. But now, Pakistan's own terrorists are confirming what India has long said. The army is not merely turning a blind eye, it is a stakeholder, a benefactor, and a patron of terrorism. And this patronage has a long history. The Jaish-e-Mohammad was nurtured by Pakistan's ISI in the late 1990s. It played a key role in infiltrations into Kashmir, the 2001 attack on India's parliament, and multiple suicide bombings across South Asia. Its founder Masood Azhar was released from Indian custody in 1999 at Kandahar under Pakistani pressure after the hijacking of IC-814. Since then, JEM has functioned with impunity, raising funds openly in Pakistan, holding rallies, and enjoying military protection, even as it was declared a terrorist organization by the United Nations. Pakistan's terror links extend beyond India. The world cannot forget that Osama bin Laden, the mastermind of 9/11, was found living near a military academy in Pakistan's Abbottabad. The pattern is unmistakable. Pakistan harbors, protects, and deploys terrorists as instruments of foreign policy, while presenting itself abroad as a frontline state in the war on terror.
Pakistan's narrative that it's a victim of terrorism was best described by Hillary Clinton when she said that you cannot promote snakes in your backyard and expect them not to bite you. What these people have done, the Pakistanis, is to take a particularly dangerous strain of religion, imbue people in that particular strain, not understanding that one day they will think that you are a non-believer, misbeliever, and therefore it is his right to kill you. So what has happened? It's these chickens coming home to roost. So when Pakistan says it's a victim of terror, these seeds were planted by Pakistan itself. They were trained by Pakistan itself. They were financed by Pakistan itself. And even today, they are housed by Pakistan itself.
Even today, Islamabad's doublespeak continues. Its leaders claim that the nation has lost thousands to terrorism and that it too suffers at the hand of extremists. But the reality, now confirmed by JEM's commander, is that Pakistan differentiates between good and bad terrorists. Those who target Pakistan are fought, but those who serve its interests against India and Afghanistan are rewarded, supported, and honored. India's Operation Sindoor has not only dismantled terror camps in Bahawalpur and POJK, but also shattered the myth of Pakistan's innocence. The confession of JEM's Kashmiri has given the world a rare inside look at how deeply entrenched Pakistan's establishment is in its jihadist ideology. For the international community, the choice is now clear: to continue indulging Pakistan's victim narrative or to hold it accountable as the world's most dangerous sponsor of terrorism. Balochistan's wounds run deep. A land of untapped wealth turned into a theatre of oppression. Enforced disappearances, silenced voices, and crushed dissent have become the tragic norm. But the cries of the Baloch are no longer confined within Pakistan's borders. In Geneva, at the iconic Broken Chair Monument, during the 60th UN Human Rights Council session, activists of the Baloch National Movement and their allies raised the alarm. The demand was loud and clear. The world must hold Pakistan accountable for its crimes in Balochistan.
At the symbolic broken chair monument near the United Nations headquarters in Geneva, Baloch activists and human rights defenders gathered to demand justice. The protest, led by the Baloch National Movement, featured speeches, slogans and a photo exhibition exposing decades of repression that Pakistan has long tried to conceal. Activists denounced what they described as decades of enforced disappearances, extrajudicial killings and systematic repression carried out by Pakistani security forces in the region. And this recent protest in Geneva reflects a growing global plea for justice, dignity and human rights in Balochistan.
ये पहली दफ़ा नहीं है, हम मुसलसल कई सालों से इस तरह की एक्टिविटीज़ करते आ रहे हैं। इनमें प्रोटेस्ट, दूसरे इवेंट्स में शरीक होना, अपने इवेंट्स और कॉन्फ्रेंसेस कराना, एक ख़ास स्पेशल फ़ोटो एग्ज़िबिशन और एक कैंप लगाना और उसमें उन चीज़ों को पेश करना जो इधर दुनिया तक नहीं पहुंचती हैं। बलूचिस्तान, जहां एक पाकिस्तान 1948 को कब्ज़े के बाद जो जुल्म वहाँ पे डाई जा रही है, उन सब को पेश करना हमारा एक मकसद होता है। इनको हम तस्वीरों में, फ़ोटो एग्ज़िबिशन की शक्ल में, प्रोटेस्ट की शक्ल में, अपने तकारीर की शक्ल में, स्पीचेस की शक्ल में दुनिया तक, यहाँ के लोगों तक, यहाँ के अदारों तक पहुँचाने की कोशिश करते हैं।
Despite its vast natural wealth, Balochistan remains Pakistan's most neglected region. More than 70% of its people live below the poverty line. Access to clean water, education and healthcare is scarce, while Pakistan's ruling elite extracts gas, coal and minerals to feed the national economy. Projects like China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, celebrated in Islamabad, have meant displacement and exclusion for locals, but the economic deprivation tells only part of the story. The real tragedy is the human cost. Enforced disappearances, extrajudicial killings, and collective punishments have become daily realities for Baloch families. Students, activists, and even children vanish, often never to return. Media suppression and crackdowns on free expression have further silenced dissent, leaving grievances unaddressed within Pakistan.
As Balochistan is suffering from decades of suppressions, after the forceful annexation of Pakistan in 1948, since that Baloch people are struggling for their freedom, right to liberty and live. We are here to highlight the human rights violations happening in Balochistan. On a daily basis, there are human rights violations in the shape of extrajudicial killings, forceful disappearances, and collective punishments. It is going on against students, against academics, against Baloch political activists, and against the peaceful movement of Baloch Yekjehati Committee. We request everyone to come with us, to stand with Baloch people, and we request to the world powers to raise their voices against all these atrocities.
Pakistan has treated Balochistan as a colony, exploiting its land while silencing its people. Even former Pakistani leaders have openly admitted that Balochistan's resources are used as collateral to pay off international debts. Activists say Islamabad's policies are nothing short of demographic engineering, designed to erase Baloch identity and tighten military control.
चूँकि एक मिनरल रिच टेरिटरी है, तो इस पे दुनिया की नज़रें लगी हुई हैं। दुनिया की कई ताकतें चाहती हैं कि वो पाकिस्तान से आके बलूचिस्तान के रिसोर्सेज का सौदा करें। पाकिस्तान के खुद कई वज़राए आज़म जो आए हैं, उन्होंने अपने जो पाकिस्तान पे जो दुनिया के कर्ज़े हैं, उन्होंने ये मेंशन किया है कि हम बलूचिस्तान के रिसोर्सेज को बेचकर अपना कर्ज़ अदा करेंगे। लेकिन इसके ख़िलाफ़ बलोच कौम ने एक रेजिस्टेंस शुरू की है। इस रेजिस्टेंस को दबाने ख़त्म करने के लिए पाकिस्तान ने जो ब्रूटल पॉलिसी अपनाई है उसमें इन्फोर्स डिसअपीयरेंसेस, एक्स्ट्रा जुडिशियल किलिंग, रिकवरी ऑफ द मास ग्रेव्स, मतलब एक जेनोसाइड की शक्ल इख्तियार कर चुकी है। वहाँ एक जेनोसाइड हो रही है ताकि वो बलोच कौम को ख़त्म करके वहाँ की सरजमीन पर, वहाँ की कोस्ट लाइन पर, वहाँ की रिसोर्सेज पर कब्जा करके इसको दुनिया के साथ बेचकर पाकिस्तान को ऑक्सीजन दे सके।
From Geneva to other global platforms, Baloch activists are ensuring the cries for justice cannot be ignored. Each protest, each testimony chips away at Pakistan's narrative, exposing a state that survives by silencing its own citizens.
Pakistan's map, one thread binds its marginalized communities. Repression. In Balochistan, Sindh, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Gilgit-Baltistan, and even in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Stories of plunder, persecution, and denial of rights echo with alarming regularity. And in Geneva, on the sidelines of the Human Rights Council session, activist Arif Azakia once again pulled the curtain back on Islamabad's crimes, demanding global attention to a state that thrives on silencing its own people. We have a report.
Pakistan, already under the scanner for its poor human rights record, faced fresh criticism in Geneva. Arif Azakia, executive director of the Asian Human Rights Forum, accused Islamabad of carrying out physical and economic genocide in Balochistan, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Sindh, Gilgit-Baltistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. He charged that Pakistan, in collusion with China, is plundering natural resources in these regions, while locals remain impoverished, displaced and subject to violence. According to him, the so-called counter-terror operations are nothing but a cover for mass abductions, torture and targeted killings of ethnic minorities.
And Pakistan, with the help of Chinese Communist Party, is exploiting all the natural resources of Balochistan and giving nothing to Baloch. And when Baloch resist, their genocide is being committed by Pakistan's terrorist army, the Punjabi army. And poor women and children are also abducted by Pakistan's brutal army, and there are no human rights in Balochistan. Same situation exists in KP.
Balochistan, Pakistan's largest province by area, is rich in gas, minerals and deep sea access. Yet it remains one of the poorest regions, plagued by military crackdowns and enforced disappearances. Rights groups say thousands of Baloch activists and students have vanished without a trace, their families left in anguish. The same grim story extends to Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, where the Pashtun population faces collective punishment, frequent drone strikes and a militarized existence. Their demand for dignity and autonomy is crushed under the weight of state repression, with the Pashtun Tahaffuz movement facing arrests, intimidation and censorship. Meanwhile, in Sindh, often called the breadbasket of Pakistan, resentment runs deep. The province generates more than half of Pakistan's national revenue. Yet activists accuse Islamabad of siphoning resources away to Punjab, leaving Sindhis deprived of development, jobs and even basic facilities.
Same situation appears in KP, and then Sindh. Sindh is Pakistan's breadwinner. Sindh earns more than 50% of Pakistan's national revenue, but Sindh gets nothing. The agents of Pakistan Army, the feudal lords of Pakistan People's Party, they are ruling hands in hand with Pakistan Army. They are not ruling, they are looting Sindh, and Sindh's resources are looted blatantly and given nothing back to Sindh. Punjab is being developed on the resources of KP, Balochistan and Sindh.
Pakistan occupied Jammu and Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan are no different. Locals complain of political disenfranchisement, lack of constitutional rights and demographic manipulation. Despite this strategic importance, these territories remain under military control with widespread censorship and curbs on free expression. Reports suggest that dissent is quickly crushed, activists harassed, and resources diverted to benefit Pakistan's Punjabi elite. The activists' testimony in Geneva adds to growing concerns voiced by international human rights organizations. Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch and the UN have repeatedly flagged enforced disappearances, extrajudicial killings and systemic discrimination against minorities in Pakistan. Yet Islamabad continues to deny these charges, branding activists as traitors and silencing critics at home. Observers say Pakistan's use of ethnic repression as state policy not only destabilizes its internal fabric but also poses risks for regional peace and security.
Afghanistan's humanitarian crisis is spiraling into a catastrophe. The Taliban's relentless clampdown on women has forced the United Nations to shut down its aid centers for Afghan returnees. At the same time, Pakistan's mass deportation campaign has pushed back hundreds of thousands of refugees into a country already struggling with poverty, earthquakes and repression. Now, with no access to UN support services, thousands of displaced Afghans, most of them women and children, face abandonment. The United Nations has sounded the alarm over an unfolding crisis on Afghanistan's borders. The crisis has been triggered by two brutal forces colliding: Pakistan's decision to expel Afghan refugees and the Taliban's ban on women aid workers. Since April this year, Pakistan has resumed its controversial illegal foreigners repatriation plan, forcing Afghan refugees back across the border in massive numbers. On September 9th, the UN Refugee Agency, UNHCR, shut down 8 key encashment centers across Afghanistan after Taliban authorities barred Afghan female staff from entering. These centers were lifelines for desperate returnees, providing cash grants, biometric registration, medical screening, and confidential interviews. 52% of returnees being women, operations are impossible without female staff. At the very moment when Pakistan is expelling Afghans in record numbers, the Taliban's misogynistic restrictions have left thousands stranded without aid.
On the 9th of September, we took the decision to close our encashment centers. We didn't take this lightly, and we knew that it would have consequences for many returnees.
The numbers tell the story of a humanitarian emergency spiraling out of control. Since April, Pakistan has forced back over 554,000 Afghans. In August alone, 143,000 people were deported, and in just the first week of September, nearly 100,000 people crossed back into Afghanistan. That means close to 7,000 people are now crossing every single day, most of them families who have lost everything and are now cut off from the aid they were promised.
We are experiencing an inflow of about 7,000 people per day, of whom 80% are eligible for the cash grant. So it is a huge step, and it is creating an enormous amount of suffering for these people. As I said, it's operational. We did not feel it would be possible to try to separate men, or possible or desirable to separate men or women, and to deny women access to our services. Unfortunately, this results in nobody receiving the services right now.
At the heart of this paralysis is the Taliban's obsession with erasing women from public life. UN officials say biometric verification, medical checks, and private protection interviews with women returnees cannot be carried out by male staff. This militarized policing of gender apartheid has crippled aid distribution at the very time it is needed most.
The reasons now for the reinforcement are unclear, but what I can say is that it's being done in quite a dramatic fashion with military observers placed outside all of our UN compounds, ensuring that female staff are not able to work.
The impact is devastating. Families deported from Pakistan are left without relief. Women who make up half the returnees are now invisible in the aid system. And some of the deportees are also victims of the deadly earthquake that struck Afghanistan on August 31st, leaving thousands homeless. With aid suspended, these communities are facing a double tragedy, displaced by Pakistan and abandoned by the Taliban. Analysts warn that Islamabad's mass deportations are not just a security measure, but a political weapon used to pressure the Taliban regime and exert leverage in bilateral disputes. At the same time, the Taliban's refusal to allow women to work has destroyed what little humanitarian infrastructure remains. Together, Pakistan's expulsions and the Taliban's repression have manufactured a crisis where the most vulnerable, women, children, and the elderly, are left with no escape. And with that, we come to the end of this edition of Newsweek South Asia. We'll be back next week with more news, views, and analysis from the subcontinent. Meanwhile, do keep writing to us at nwsa@anin.com. This is Shivangi Mishra signing off on behalf of the entire team of Newsweek South Asia. Goodbye and take care.